So I want to just pick up right where I left off last week, all right? So I'm going to just put up a couple of scriptures on the board, and if you remember where we were last week with Elijah, and he had gone out and done something phenomenal. He was living in Israel. Israel was, the nation had been falling apart for 58 years and under some evil kings. And so in my imagination, I just picture this guy. You probably picked up on it last week. I love this character, Elijah. I like the way he operates. I like the way he thinks. And so last week, we ended with him confronting Ahab and walking out of the palace. And as I said last week, probably got on his Harley and just rode off into the sunset, So now I want to pick up right where I left off. Elijah has left the palace, and he's gone out of town, and he's headed down the road, and he kind of feels like at this point he is safe. So he pulls over on the side of the road. And I just picture, again, just give me a little slack here this morning as my imagination runs a little wild. I just kind of picture the guy doing what I think any of us guys would have done. He called his mom, right? He got out his phone, he called his mom, and I just kind of picture this call. Elijah's sitting there, and he dials up his mom. He's waiting, it's ringing. All of a sudden, he's like, Mom, guess what? I did it. I mean, it was awesome. Mom, you used to tell us about what it was like to live here in Israel when Solomon was the king, and how righteousness ruled the land, and how our nation was the greatest nation in the world, and everybody loved God and went to church. And I've now looking around at our society, I just got sick and tired of what was going on. And Mom, I started praying to God like you taught us to. And I asked God to judge the nation, and He did. This drought that's going on, yeah, that's because He answered my prayer. I asked for it. I know, it's terrible, Mom, but listen, it's the judgment of God. God answered my prayers, and He not only did that, He opened a door for me. Yeah, I got to go to the king's palace, Mom, and I got to see King Ahab and Queen Jez. Mom, I know. Mom, I know it. But she was there, and he was there, and I walked right up to him. And I'm telling you, Mom, I was on the top of my game. You should have heard what I said. I was on the top of my game, and this thing is going to be big. God is opening up doors. My ministry is now just booming, it's blowing up. It's going to be huge. And wait, Moms, I'm getting another call. Hold on just a sec. Hey, Mom, I got to let you go. Yeah, Yahweh's on the other line. Yeah, no, not Kanye, Yahweh. Yahweh, and I got to let you go, Mom. So he flips over. I think I accidentally just called somebody. They're like, So he answers the other line. And it's Yahweh, it's God. Hey, God, that was awesome. That was incredible. Did you see Ahab's face? Now, what are we supposed to do now? What's next? What do you want me to do? I know, you want me to get an army? You want me to destroy Ahab? Let's do it. Let's take him out. Jezebel don't even stand a chance. I mean, maybe right now I need to get a logo, right? I need to get a logo. I need to get T-shirts. Maybe I need to start a 501c3. God, what do you want me to do? This is going to be big. And then God answers him. 1 Kings 17:2. And the word of the Lord came to him. Depart from here and turn eastward and hide yourself by the brook Cherith, which is east of the Jordan. I'm hearing an echo. Hide yourself. Hide yourself. I could just picture him on the phone. What? What? Hide yourself? We just launched our ministry. God, Do you see what's going on? Do you see the momentum? Do you see what's happening? God, you opened this door. I'll walk through this door by faith. You opened it, and now you're closing it. I feel like, in fact, you're slamming it in my face. Hello? Hello? That's how I picture that going down. You know, sometimes God's ways seem like a curse when they're really a blessing. Go hide yourself by the brook Cherith. Hide yourself. That don't seem fun. But why would you hide yourself? Maybe because you need to hide yourself. Maybe there's somebody trying to kill you, hurt you, cancel you. Maybe God's protecting you. Maybe God knows what's best. Sometimes what God does to us seems like a curse. It feels like a curse, but it's really a blessing. And I'm here to tell you this morning that we Christians need to learn the value of the hidden life. The hidden life. The hidden part of Christianity, where you're hiding in God, hiding in Christ. You're in that prayer closet, that secluded place, that out of the spotlight place. We need to learn what it's like to do ministry in obscurity at times, to get off of the social media and not worry about what the public is saying or thinking. We just need to be serving God and have an audience of one, and that's God Himself. To learn how to live for God all alone when no one's keeping score. To learn to be in that secret place when there's no spotlight. You're behind the scenes. And what is the value of it? Well, like in Elijah's life, sometimes God's got to work in you before He can work through you. When God told Elijah to go hide by the brook Cherith, I bet you in that moment, Elijah felt like everything was falling apart. Everything was going wrong. From the moment that he had stood before a king and called out a king and rebuked a king, to now he's going to hide like a fugitive, he must have felt like this was going in the wrong direction. All of his plans, his dreams, his pride, all falling apart. But sometimes, God's got to draw us aside and work in us before He can work through us. I could even picture Elijah. He's taking that call. He's like, what? Go hide? Go hide by the brook of Cherith? Okay. I'll go there. I'm assuming this is like a 5-star riverside resort, right? Cherith must be beautiful. I can't wait to get there. And so I'm looking forward. I'm sure you got me the best room. I'm a rock star, by the way. You know what I'm saying? I'm the guy who stood before Ahab and Jezebel and told them off. And then verse 4, God says, and you shall drink from the brook I have commanded, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there. That don't sound like a 5-star resort, right? Elijah's there by this little creek, and he's probably down on his knees in the mud, and he's trying to scoop up this water, and he's drinking it, and he's thinking to himself, I didn't see this coming. You ever said that? I didn't see this coming. This wasn't in the plans. That is not how I dreamed this going down. He drinks the water, looks around, and he thinks to himself, I am up a creek, literally. Nothing is going as planned. He had plans, and he was all in on those plans, and everything was going right. He was rolling. He was making a difference. And now, he's got these stupid, ugly, nasty raven birds that are bringing him bread and meat every day. This is humiliating. I mean, who likes ravens anyway? Ravens are nasty. These are scavenger birds. We don't even shoot ravens and eat them. They're that nasty, right? And now they're feeding me. I mean, I've got to eat bread that come out of their mouth. Meat. Where'd they get this meat from? This is weird. And he's sitting there thinking about it. He's comparing it to what he had planned. He's comparing it to all of his dreams. And he's like, you know, God, I appreciate this, but I think I want to go somewhere else. And God's like, sure, you can go anywhere you want. Oh, by the way, the ravens are only coming here, though. I mean, that's literally what it says. The ravens feed you where? There. You can take off. You can go try to do this on your own. But I'm taking care of you here. This is the will of God. Verse 5. So he went and did according to the word of the Lord. And he went and lived by the brook Cherith, that is east of the Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. And so Elijah stayed there. He stayed there, and the days turned into weeks. And the weeks went by. He had no Netflix, no Twitter, no news. He was cut off from the world. He had just made a big splash. He was on everybody's radar. Everybody was talking about who he was and what he was doing. And now he has no idea what's going on. And he has no idea what's going to happen to him. And so he's there on the side of this creek. And I just picture him. He's pacing. I don't think a guy like Elijah could just sit there. Sorry, camera guy, you got to keep up with me. Elijah starts pacing. And he's kind of trapped in his own thoughts, you know. And he's digging a trail right here in this sand on the side of this creek as he walks back and forth. He's probably, at first, he's thinking about that speech that he had in the palace in front of Ahab and Jezebel. He's probably going over it in his mind over and over again, you know, as, you know, the Lord God of Israel, he liveth, and I'm here, and there's going to be no rain or dew until I say, and he just kind of plays it over, and he's kind of rewording, and he's kind of rethinking it. And then he's thinking, I should have said this, and I should have said that, and I could have went a little longer. I had him right where I wanted him, and he keeps going over it, and days go by, and he's playing it through in his head, and now that got old, so he's starting to think about his next speech. I mean, his next speech is going to be real important, you know, and everybody's going to know who he is, and there's a lot of expectation and a lot of pressure on him, so he starts working that next speech in his head, and he's getting ready, and days go by, and he's kind of run out of things to think about, and this thing's just not going the way he thought, and now the excitement is all gone, and now he's eventually just sitting there under a tree, and he's settled down. Now he's actually looking around to this brook Cherith. Pretty cool place, you know, now that you look around. You kind of get used to it, you know. It's nice. His trees are nice and shady, and he's listening to the water as it crashes over all the rocks. It's so soothing, you know. It's relaxing. It's like he's living in a spa, if you think about it. I mean, this is really good. God, I'm sorry I got so upset when you sent me here. Listening to the birds and the trees and little squirrels keep running by, you know, and so if eventually, you know, these ravens, they're coming every day, twice a day. They're bringing him bread, they're bringing him meat. So he's out there kind of looking around in the woods and in the forest, and he's picking certain herbs and he's finding certain spices and things, and he's kind of turning this. It's got a little ribeye steak going on here, over the fire. And he looks at that morsel of bread one day, and he just started thinking about that piece of bread. The fact that someone had made that bread. I mean, bread doesn't just grow on trees. Someone had made that bread, and a raven stole it. I wonder who that person was. I wonder if this was their only piece of bread. We are in a drought. People are hungry. I'm getting 2 pieces of bread a day. I'm doing pretty good. I wonder who this was that had to go out into their little garden that's dying and pick the wheat and make the bread and all the hard work that went into this. And here I am, Raven Express shows up every day. And I was complaining. And he starts praying for that person, whoever that person might be. And you know what he's doing? He's going back to the place where he was spiritually before he confronted Ahab. Before all the success. That place where he was just a humble guy who wanted to see God's glory revealed. He went back to just being a simple man of prayer. A man who saw the world through God's eyes. And every day he drank from the creek. And as he drank from that creek, he thought about the fact the whole world, his world, that nation, it was in a drought. Literally, people don't have enough to drink, and he's got a running spring of water, fresh water, right here every single day. God gave him this water. Every day, that stream of water, that creek, those ravens remind him that God is alive, and God is sovereign, and God is in charge, and God has the real plan, and God's plans haven't failed and haven't fallen apart. We're actually still on plan A from God's perspective. And where God guides, finish it. God provides. Amen? We have to be reminded of that. And he's humbled. And he's praying a lot. And what is he doing? He's trusting God. Every day for everything. God's working in him so that he can work through him. He's finding victory at the brook of Cherith so later he could have victory at Mount Carmel. And verse 7 says this, and after a while, the brook dried up because there was no rain in the land. He's drinking from that creek every day. Every day. And one day, he notices it's just not as big of a creek as I remember it being yesterday. And every day it gets a little smaller. Eventually, he doesn't hear the water rushing over the rocks because it's not rushing over any rocks. It's now just trickling around very slowly. By the next day, it's just sort of pools of water. Not really, I wouldn't call it a creek. It's more of just a trickle. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced the situation where God can lead you to do something or be a part of something, and then that dries up real quickly? It can really make your head spin. I mean, you didn't see that coming. It came so fast. And it doesn't make any sense because God brought me here. This was God's gift. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why would God have me start something and then hide me away? Why would God have me go big before He makes me go small and insignificant? It seems like the opposite, right? Why would God humble me this way? Why would God lead me to a creek and then let the creek run dry? Why would God give us gifts and then take them away? Why would God give me this person I love and I marry, and then even though we tried real hard and we got counseling, we prayed, we did everything we could, but the marriage fell apart? Why would God let that happen? Why would I do my best to be a good parent? And now that child is gone. That child was a gift from God, and now that child is, God took that child. Why? Or I was known for this business, and now I'm known for my bankruptcy, and I was doing it all for the glory of God. Why? Could it be that God gets us up a creek to remind us not to trust in the gifts, but the giver? Maybe it's when you're up a creek that you learn to live by faith in God alone. And maybe, just maybe, being up a creek is not something that we can only experience once in life, but, every couple years it might do us good to be up a creek. Because sometimes we just have to relearn these lessons over and over. And maybe Elijah needed to be reminded that, he's not the big prophet that he thought he was. That the real prophet to Israel is Jesus Christ. He is the King of Kings. He's the God of the ravens. He's the bread of life. He's the water of life. So I say to you today, I pray this when I say it to you, that you learn to trust God and cherish Him every day, whether it's a good day or a bad day. Even when you feel like you're up a creek, know that God has put you there for a reason. So settle down and trust Him.